Go.
Hey guys, Amy from Colorado Mountain Living. So we made it through the snowstorm, we made it through the blizzard last weekend, and right when you think a big storm is the worst of it, I have to tell you, honestly, the worst part of changing weather is the upcoming mud season, and I think we've already entered it. So when you've got big melts of snow and you've got that spring melt with strong sun, you get your ground softening up, and that turns dirt roads into mud pits. My car is totally trashed right now with mud. You know, it's not really 4x4, it doesn't have a high suspension or anything like that, so it does get a lot more mud coverage than maybe some other vehicles do. When you live on a dirt road, this is one of the things that you have to deal with. You got to deal with muddy roads, muddy conditions, and just pretty much potholes and mud all the time until the snow goes away. And you could get all your snow to melt and things to clear up, and then you get another big storm and you get muddy conditions again. So who knows, you know, spring's just a couple days away, but mud season might last a couple of months up here. And that's one of the things we're having to deal with. We've got some real problems in our driveway, and we're hoping that we'll be able to mitigate some of that this spring with some new gravel and some new driveway mitigation. But I'm going to show you guys how bad the situation is and what we plan to do about it. Get the hill up here. It doesn't get a lot of sun, and so the road stays pretty icy and frozen, and then in some spots it melts, so we get a lot of water melting. But this corner's the worst. It really gets a lot of, I mean, you can see the ruts. They're pretty bad. And my little car is just like, we hope we make it. It's almost like riding a rally car, it seems like.
Oh, dang, I just got covered in it.
Dang, so that's the worst part of the road, but our driveway's just as bad. It's just so soft. And I don't know where all the gravel went. We had gravel in our driveway, but I mean, it's like I'm skating. I shouldn't even attempt this, trying to go up the hill. But I'm just going to show you guys.
Oh, we're gonna try?
Oh my God. Probably won't get very far.
Oh wait, I'm gonna put the window up.
Yeah, we're stalling out right about here.
Keep going, you gotta push it, push it.
Trying to hook some of the ice right here.
Yeah,
So that's about as far as we can get without four-wheel drive. So we end up parking on the corner and walking up. Although it's supposed to get cold tomorrow, so maybe the driveway will be frozen. This is what I'm looking at when I go to step out of the car. Not to mention how disgusting my car is on the edge, but you know, it's like a river and then a mud pit. And this is just from, you know, this is from plowing. So this is our driveway in its current state. Tons of ruts, very, very soft mud. I mean, look at the trickle of melting water coming from all the melting snow. And it's just running right down the middle of our driveway right now. It is like a river. Melting ice, water underneath. It's definitely creating a giant mess of things. Brian can barely make it up the driveway himself with a four-wheel drive vehicle. It's just that this mud is so soft. You sink into it like 4 inches. You saw the ruts in the road on our own road that we live on, and it's terrible. If you can make it up this hill, up there, the further corner, you can pretty much make it to the house. But I'll tell you, there is mud all around the house like this as well. So, you know, the blessing of spring is we get to have snow melt, but it creates this crazy mud situation. And I just end up having to park my car down here at the bottom because there's just no chance of me making it up that hill right now. And forget washing my car. You know, I could take it to the car wash and spray it all off, but it looks like this the next time I come up the road. So it's definitely in its ugly phase for a little while until we get some drying out of these roads. And from our 20-inch snowstorm, we already have melt on our hill. The sun is very strong. And it's already powered away 20 inches of snow right here. And you can see around the side of the house here, we also get the snow melt right along the side of the house. There's a lot of solar power, a lot of heat right here, but it's also very, very muddy. Can't really walk right there. You'll sink in 4 inches. Some of us really enjoy the sun-snow combination. This is where we put our water line in. So you can see there's a little bit of melting and a little bit of trench sinking, because by the time our water line was installed, the ground had already frozen in many spots. So there's a lot of thawing going on right now. That just means a lot of soft ground, and we're gonna have to just be extra careful. Look at this trench right here. This is where the water line came through, and we've got about 10 inches of sinking. So we're gonna have to refill this. One good thing about snow, though, is that you can kind of clean off your feet before you get into the house. Kind of stamp off the mud. Got a nice clean walkway here. Guys, I'm gonna show you what the top of the driveway looks like as well. One of the things that Brian's talking about doing for the top of the driveway is to put down pavers. And I'm curious how they hold up over time. You guys have pavers for your driveway? And do you like them? Do they hold up to big equipment like tractors driving on them all the time? Should we wait until we're done with the majority of our construction? We still have phase 2 to build on our home, and that's probably not going to be until next year. So I'm wondering, if we're going to have a cement truck up here and other big trucks, should we be waiting on doing pavers? Or is that something that we could do this summer? So that's one of the visions that Brian has for up here, to kind of keep it cleaner, keep the mud down, is to do paver installation in the driveway and have a nice clean look. But I still not really sure if that's all practical, or if we should wait on that. But ready to hear what you guys have to say. I'd love to get rid of this mud any way possible. So we get a lot of snow that will melt into blocks of ice, because this is the north side of the house and it doesn't get as much sun. There's one patch of gravel over here. It's kind of where I tend to park my car, but a lot of the gravel has been kind of plowed out of this area. You can see this is where Brian parks most of the time. You can see the mud, how sloppy it looks. There's lots of pooled water in the mud. The worst of it, though, I have to tell you, is at the bottom, is at the corner of the driveway down here. So I'm going to take a walk and show you guys. So see how icy this is? It's like solid ice, and very dangerous to kind of walk on, very slippery. But it just tends to pool here, and then in the middle of the afternoon when we have the strongest sun, it gets completely liquefied, and then we just have a lake effect up here. It's just lots of pooled water. But it's really the worst part of it, besides the hill of the driveway, is this top corner I have to show you. Luckily, I have a place to walk where I'm not getting covered in mud. There's still plenty of snowpack right here. So take a look at this. This is the deep ruts that are forming on our top corner of our driveway from the snow melt, from the ground thaw. And it's just like, it's topsoil. It's so soft and so messy. It's just so sloppy. And I'm walking just on the side here and I'm sinking, halfway up my shoes. When Brian was this is a tough area to work on, because when you're plowing, you're kind of scraping away your gravel layer and pushing it into the side of the bank here. And then you're just left with all this soft mud. And Brian kind of picked up a couple of big stones there that are sort of in the way. But I don't know. It's just really a frustrating point of the spring and our driveway. So I'm curious, what have you guys tried to help mitigate muddy situations at your place? What do you guys do for your driveway? What do you do? I mean, there's not much that we can do about the road. It is what it is. The county maintains the road, and they actually brought through a road grader yesterday, and I think that might have helped some, but then it just takes a couple of more cars or trucks to drive on it to get those ruts again. And they'll be doing more road mitigation in the spring once things dry out, they'll come through and they'll come through with a big steamroller and just roll things really flat and smooth. So they do keep up with the road quality up here, especially on the dirt roads. It's just something that's part of the regular maintenance and part of the county budget. But what I'd love to hear ideas from you guys. What do you do for a driveway situation like this where you've got a lot of mud? We could bring in additional road base. We could bring in additional gravel. I'll link to one of the products that Brian's considering getting to help keep our gravel. So one idea, you can get all the gravel that you can, but if you're always plowing and you're plowing your gravel away, then you're kind of faced with that situation every spring that the snowbanks took all your gravel because you plowed it. But he's looking at a system that is, it's like a plastic mesh that goes into the ground, and then it's like little cups that hold onto your gravel so you don't lose it from plowing or from weather or from rainfall or whatever. You don't get a washout of your gravel. So curious about how you guys handle mud season. I know not everybody gets the blessing and the treasure of mud season. Some folks don't really live in those kind of areas, but if you do have a lot of snowfall and you get these warmer days in the spring, you're going to get that soft ground. And this is what we're dealing with right now. We're probably going to be dealing with it for at least through April, because it takes a little while for the snow to stop falling and for the sun to be out long enough to dry things, and as well to get the ground frost out of the ground. So once the ground thaws for good, then we'll probably be making a lot better headway. But right now, it's just a lot of dirtiness and a lot of frustration with keeping the driveway usable, because it just seems like we're just making it worse by driving on it. So for now, I'm parking at the bottom, and I think Brian's gonna be parking at the bottom too until we start to see some things really dry out, and then we can take some action, but probably not before we get the big thaw out of the ground and we start to see more of this weather dry up. Because once we get a few days in a row of sun, we get some extra snow. It's just like a cycle that perpetuates itself. So anyway, wanted to share with you guys sort of what it looks like around here. Early spring, I know it's just a day or two away, but this is what early spring looks like for us right now up in the mountains. And if you're thinking about moving to the mountains, this is one of your realities. I'm going to put a link to the video where I mentioned the top 10 things that we loved and hated about our first year in the mountains, and I mentioned mud as one of the things. When having a dog, it's really hard to have your dog always walk in the snow as well, so that's another issue, is that he can track in a lot of mud as well. So we're trying to be cautious about it, but we're looking forward to things drying out around here. We just wanted to give you guys a quick update on what things have been looking like since the big storm. All right, well, take care, and we're gonna get more detail about this coming week and the projects that we're working on. We're trying to finish up the flooring downstairs, so that way we can start getting more areas done one at a time. We're looking at the fireplace next, and also moving on to the bathroom, vanity, and the shower. Also got to finish up that railing upstairs so that make that loft usable. So we got a lot of projects coming up, guys. Stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed, want to see how our next project turns out, just hit the subscribe button and the notifications button. We'll let you know as soon as we put out our next video. But we're glad to have you here, and we're happy to have you along, hearing about our journey, building our dream home up in the mountains, living with all of the blessings and the curses that come with it. All right, guys, take care. We'll see you next time.